Hi, I'm Denise Mazzola from Doggy Dilemmas. Welcome to part two of Bailey, the wire hair fox terrier that, as I describe, he seems to get stuck in the vortex of the door. Karen, John, and I last week had a pretty good laugh about the fact that you can come into the house, no problem, he's happy to see you, but God forbid anybody try to leave because he is wired for sound. We're not really sure where this started. He's 9 years old. They've had him for about 2 years. Bless their hearts for keeping him this long because he is a challenging dog. And what happens if you missed part one is if anybody starts to leave, if you stand up, if you put your coat on, God forbid you put your coat on, because he just starts barking, running around, and as you move to the door, he races you to the door. He doesn't bite you. He has no bite history, which is pretty fantastic given his behavior. But it looks like he's going to, or it looks like he's going to attack the door. And when I first met Bailey and we actually opened the door, he would get stuck, what I called, in the vortex of the door. He wouldn't go out, he wouldn't come in. He would just bark and carry on. And his bark is piercing. I'm one of those people that I can listen to dogs bark for quite a while, but his really pierces your eardrums. So we're going to pick up today where we left off. Bailey's also started medication. So he is on 5 to 7 milligrams of Prozac. And as I work with them through the next few weeks, we will be adjusting that to see if it's going to make any difference for Bailey. And I have a feeling that it's going to. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. So let's pick up where we left off with Karen and John and Bailey, the wired hair fox terrier that gets stuck in the door.
Denise Mazzola is a certified professional dog trainer with over 20 years experience training dogs and people. If you've got a doggy dilemma, Denise can help.
So what would be, I know that walking towards the door would be a trigger. What would be a trigger that might be 5 paces back? You know what I mean? So if you pick up your purse, that might trigger him?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if we move the chairs, that might trigger him?
Possibly. With everything going on right now, I'm not sure what, but if I moved a couple chairs into the other room and put the gate up,
That would be
I
a
mean,
trigger.
he knows that means he's staying home. Because
Okay.
that's the only time we do that is when he's going to
Okay.
be staying home.
Okay. So I want to see some of this behavior. So
Okay.
Go get your purse.
Yeah, my purse is
let's do
upstairs.
the purse last, because that's a guaranteed
Yeah,
one, right?
yeah, that's... Okay, so
Put the gate up.
we'll just move
Will you
the
be able
chair
to-
just so he can get an idea.
So normally, would you think you'd see something?
He would be at this point all around.
Okay.
See, he's focused on. But now if I go this direction,
Are you at the door?
I am.
Yes.
So just come away from the door. Do you do anything else with the chairs normally?
Well, it's usually the 2 chairs at this counter that go in there because we don't want him on there. He doesn't seem to get on that.
Okay.
And and they go in, the gate goes up, and then
Okay.
by
So-
then I'm hauling him on out then for a walk
Okay.
while Jack does.
So let's have you go get your purse, then just come back and sit down.
Okay.
Then my guess, John, is when she's, oh, here we go. When she's normally he would be out before all of this started.
No, I wouldn't. I'd still be here.
She would take him out.
I'd take him for a walk up the street just a little bit.
Okay.
As soon as I get the purse and the jacket, and this is what he will do. Now, if I had to do a few other things, he'd be doing that the whole time until I would leave.
Right. Okay. Bailey. Okay. All right. So what and I want to see this, the door stuff too. So we'll use the kitchen door and you normally put the leash on him if I'm going to leave.
Right, we
You
would have
put
the
the
leash
leash
on
on
him,
him.
so then we could get a hold of him. What we do, the way we do it now, when we do have people over, we, well, like I say, they can come in, not a problem. But when anybody needs to go out, if somebody has to go back to their car, I just go out with them. I
Okay.
just get him on his leash or have him on his leash while we have people here, and I just go out too because
Okay. And if
it's
you put
better
him on
than
the leash, does that signal him that something's happening and get him all excited?
it would because the whole time we had contractors, he had a leash on him all day.
Right, okay.
And he'd otherwise since that's been done, he never has it on.
So this little barking episode seemed a little better than a year ago.
Right.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
so
He
this-
couldn't catch his breath, remember? I mean,
we couldn't even talk.
But we had the workers. They were in here. Those two
Right.
French
He's-
doors were
I mean,
closed,
he's-
and he just
Again, he's on alert. I mean,
Yeah.
His tail is in a neutral-ish position, and it's hard to see his eyes through his little fuzzy
I know.
fur,
He's ready for a groom.
but he's just not relaxed. I mean,
No.
there's nothing about him that looks relaxed at this point. So just pick up your purse and walk the circle, and then come back and sit down again. Bailey.
Hello.
See?
Bailey.
He got as far as the door. That surprises me because I would have thought he would have gone
Good boy.
quicker.
Good boy.
He waited till he saw you.
So this time, purse and your jacket, and then walk the reverse towards the door and then back around. Kind of. He's not paying attention.
This way?
Yep.
And just come back around.
Yep. Come right. Yep.
He had his attention this time.
That's much better than a year ago. Sure, we would have been able
Probably.
to do that. So leave the purse and the jacket, and I want you just to touch the door.
Okay.
I know you're pushy. Bailey. Bailey. Good boy. So make it sound with the door again for me. Get my finger out of the way. Bailey.
Did he take your fingers?
No, he just, he gets all aroused. Come in and sit back down again. So, funny, I'd almost use the word conflicted. Like, oh my God, she's giving me liverwurst, but she's leaving. He's got to fly over there and do his little thing, and then
Fly back.
Jen right back here for some more liverwurst. Okay, so I'm trying. There's lots of different ways that we can approach this, and we're gonna have to experiment and see really what works better.
Okay.
The one thing we're definitely gonna do is increase his obedience. He has some nice behaviors. We're gonna capitalize on that, and I'm going to show you how I want you to frustrate him because he's pushy. He's demanding.
Yes.
And
very.
that all plays into all of his issues. And, with a dog that barks, we can sort of unconsciously allow that to control us because we want to do anything we can to stop the barking. I mean, it's annoying. It's clearly annoying, and we haven't even seen the worst of it yet. So we're going to increase his obedience. I think the first prong approach I'd like to try is desensitizing him. And we did a little bit of that. Move the gate, but you don't go. Move your purse
Okay.
from here to there. And you're going to get some of this barking every time you do
Right.
it. So, if you have a migraine headache, probably don't do it that day because you'll want to kill him. But just in the course of your day, move things around. And I just want the routine to change.
That makes a lot of sense
And
because otherwise he knows when the
Yes.
purse is in hand, you're leaving.
Right.
What
we
else
want,
do
we want
you
all
do?
these things to predict nothing for him.
Right.
And for 3 years, remember, for 3 years, purse. I think you mentioned hairspray ones.
Yes.
Are all predictors. This is new because of the construction you've had done in the house, but nonetheless, it's a predictor for him now.
Right, because when the bathroom was down here, I'd be in there, comb the hair, spritz. Well, then he knew.
Right.
I never spray my hair unless
Right.
I'm heading out. So.
And you can either, we can get very scientific and time it, how long he barked, but from my recollection from the last time I was here, I remember I sat here and he barked forever, and I wasn't even sure how to continue having a conversation
Right, you
with
couldn't
you
even count to
because
3. You were
he-
trying to
no.
count to 3.
Oh,
yeah.
right. And so we're going to desensitize. We're going to, and a week is just going to be a sampling
Okay.
of how that happens. I think that. Do you consider both of you sort of routine people? You do things.
Oh, very, yeah.
Okay, so it's not going to be natural for you to change your routine. But for a week, I'm going to ask you to change it and see if we can get some of these things to not
Sure.
be such predictors of him.
Sure.
And I want to show you how to frustrate him. And then we're going to try to make it stop
Okay.
because of that pushiness that I see with him.
So that's called payback for all the frustration.
I guess
Awesome.
that's what we can call it. and I noticed that you both reach in your pocket before we ask him to do something.
Which he knows is, yeah.
So here's the first frustration you're going to do. Is you're just going to use those treats, and he's not going to get them. Because I haven't asked him to do anything. And then he's going to start to bark, which is predictable. So we want him to bark until he stops barking. Until he figures out that being pushy is not going to get him anything at all about this. So, just have some hot dogs in my hand. Because one of the issues that came up when I asked you to go to the door is I wasn't treating him yet because you weren't at the door.
Right.
And then he got frustrated, so he started to bark. He was barking out of frustration because of the treats. So I couldn't feed him. And
Right.
then you arrived at the door, so it just was bad timing on my part. So now we'll see if we can get. So I don't want all of this just to stop. And this is where the meds, I feel like, have made a little bit of an improvement for him. That that arousal is not staying. Down. Good boy. Now I like that down because he's relaxed his hips a little bit.
Yeah.
As long as
His
they start.
tail's going.
But Denise, you didn't give it to me fast enough. Down. You can hardly control yourself. Down. Down.
The bag of tricks is out.
Maybe I misunderstood you when I should roll over. Down.
See, I can do it both ways.
Maybe you didn't see me the first time. So, nothing happens. We'll just wait until he stops again. I know. Mr. Bailey, you're pretty demanding. Sit. Down. Down. But you need to stop working. Down. That's a stress shake off. Down. And this is where he has nice behaviors, but he doesn't wait for you to tell him. He's going through his entire repertoire, and then the frustration builds and builds and builds. Down. I haven't asked you to do that. Down.
God, only if he could do cartwheels, it'd be a real circus.
1, 2, 3. So we got a little, but we'll do that. And now I'm going to try to, I would like him to be relaxed. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we have to be careful he doesn't roll over, but if you turn his head to his shoulder and his hip, see how this is sort of curved? Mm-hmm. I would like him, every time you ask him to lie down, to try to get him to be in a relaxed
Instead
position.
of just the
Yep.
Sphinx position or
Yes.
like that. Like that is not how he should be.
Just like that. And that's going to take some time. And when I start with puppies doing that, you end up with a dog that every time you ask them to lay down, they swing their hips over. But we want them to be relaxed. And being in a relaxed position is part of... You can get there, you just won't stay there. is part of feeling relaxed. If you have a conversation, even if I were to sit here like this and have this conversation with you, it makes me feel so much different. Just I don't know, defensive or just sort of stiff or something than if I just have my hands relaxing.
Yeah.
So I want him to be put into that relaxed position. It's not a cure-all, but it's
Right.
all these things. What I'd like to see is if they start to make a difference. for
Right,
him.
they're baby steps and
Yep.
hopefully lead up to.
So before, let's see, I guess I want to see the door stuff. And no purse or anything, but I'd like you to, whatever you think is going to trigger it, we'll walk around here, open the door so we can see what he does.
Okay.
Get a good shot of that.
Okay.
All right, so we'll have to move. Okay, that's going to start it. Did you teach him to spin or does he just spins?
No, that's that.
Maybe I'll just walk out the door.
This is what he does when, like my sister here, starts as soon as she wakes get up. He knows. Now,
So we're going to have to get him riled up. That's so bizarre. It's just like like he's stuck in this vortex
he's
of the door.
conflicted.
Yeah.
Do I go? Don't I?
Yeah, but his both dogs would run right out and say,
Exactly.
"Oh, bye." Yeah.
Hey, tell him to close it. He stopped.
Yeah, he did. He scratched it a little bit and then stopped. All right. So let's see what we can possibly accomplish. I just want to see what's going to work, if anything. Like a gooey cheese. So a little bit of hot dog. The other thing that's interesting is when he gets all worked up, he's going to treat harder. So if I can't safely have him down, boy. I might be able to do this. My bee bag is all full of goopy stuff.
He doesn't.
So the difference is, this is about classical conditioning. This is about trying to make his association different. So it doesn't matter if it's hard or my feet. Okay. It's my hand on the door, twisting it, trying to change, and this could take a while. So that's why we're going to sort of put all these pieces together. But I don't think he would have done this a year ago either.
No.
No.
Door. Open it. I think that we're still going. Right, that's about the food. That's kind of about the food. He's looking around for it. Good boy. Sit.
You'd think that wouldn't happen.
All right, so let's go back and sit down. 'Cause no, we're all done.
Come on, Bailey.
What I saw at the door initially was about the door, like we would expect from him. But then after, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 10 repetitions of hand on the doorknob food, it became a little more of that frustrated, bossy, pushy bark because then it was directed at me.
Right.
And not at the door.
Right,
Which is
jumping on you.
Right,
and-
which is why we need to get all these different pieces going at the same time so we can put them together at the door. So I want you to do this holding treats, and he's not going to get it until he's done either what you've asked him to do without the barking piece. So that when we start to put it together at the door, we don't get this frustration, pushy barkiness that's happening at the door because it's all playing into each other. So we're going to have to pull that apart. The obedience is going to come in, so that's really strong. He sits, and I'm going to ask you, do you want him to sit and stay, or do you want him to lie down and stay? Wherever, whether we do it at the door, any place in your life, would it be better to have him sit or lie down and stay?
Probably, I don't know. I mean,
Probably
What?
sit and stay because he knows that best.
well, but he knows down and stay too. But the
Okay.
down and stay is a little more like, okay, you're down, you're relaxing, you're resting. Now stay the heck there. Stay like
I don't
that.
see
Yeah,
that,
I don't know if it makes a difference. I mean,
I don't know yet whether I would use the stays at the door for when you're not going. When he's not coming with you, whether I would ask him to sit and stay while you went through the door. Because then you're never really releasing him. So technically, it's not
that's
necessarily
true. The
a
door
stay.
shuts, and then it's like,
Then you're out of the
well,
picture.
I'm on the wrong side of this thing.
Right, but I would like to have, there's the issue of when you leave, and then there's the issue of when other people leave. And when other people leave, that's where I'd like to use the stay. Mm-hmm. So whether it's a go to bed stay, get in your chair stay, give that some thought.
He does very well with bed because when we eat dinner at the counter there,
Do you tell him to go to bed?
we just say bed, and he'll either go to bed most
Or
of the
get in
time
the
or
chair,
here.
one of the two.
And I don't know now
Okay.
how picky do we need. This is basically a bed for him. That's his bed and one behind there.
Okay.
But now it's a norm. It's rare that we have to, when we're getting ready for dinner, he comes in and does it.
Okay.
And that's huge.
Let's have you just stand by the TV and ask him to go to bed and see if he'll sort of do that without the context of dinner.
Of anything.
Yep.
Bailey, bed. Bailey, bed.
Does he? And he sits in bed or he'll lie
He'll
down
just sit
during dinner.
like that.
He'll
so if
sit
you
until
can
he
watch,
gets tired of sitting and then he'll
then
lay
he'll
down.
lay down.
Okay. All right. So let's capitalize on that you've already established it during dinner.
Right.
We're going to use it at other times as well, so that when someone leaves, my goal for him would be Bailey, go to bed. He can
Right.
lie down and go to bed. People can leave, and then you can release him. But
Right.
when you leave, I would like to work on the desensitizing the triggers, and eventually we'll desensitize the door. But I don't want to focus on the door until we get rid of this frustration barking in general, because
Right.
it starts to come up, and then it just convolutes everything that we're trying to do over there, and it makes it too difficult for him to even sort out, what am I doing? Because I'm having a difficult time. Am I classically conditioning you, or am I now reinforcing the barking? Okay. So what I wanted to say over there, but he was barking, I'm going to tell you now, is there's operant. Dogs learn in two ways. One is by association, which is much more of an emotional state, and one is by reinforcement. Oh, I jump on the counter, I get ham. I'm going to jump on the counter again. That's a behavior. Whether we've taught it or not, it's a behavior. So him barking at us and then we treat him is a behavior. We're accidentally reinforcing the barking.
Right, right.
So-
I tried never to give him a treat
Good.
if he's barked. 'Cause
Good. That's
doesn't
perfect.
Make sense.
So what's happening at the door, in my opinion, is he has a very strong negative association at the door. We're never going to know why. We're never going to know what caused it. It could be a brain malfunction. It could be something that happened to him in the previous 6 years or 4 years since before you ever had him. So it doesn't matter why. It just matters that he has one. And so that we will change that by changing the association. Door predicts $500. Door predicts $500. Door predicts $500. So right now it's predicting in his mind something unpleasant. But we're going to work on that later.
Right.
I want to work on the obedience. I want to work on the desensitizing, and I want to work on reducing his pushiness so that he learns barking, mouthing my hand, pawing at your hand, doing any of the other things that he does that says, yo, lady, give me a treat. They're not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So that when we start to work on the classical conditioning by the door, all those other things have gone away. That'll make it much easier.
Okay.
But I don't see that it's feasible to teach him to sit and stay while you leave and have him be happy about it until we've changed his emotional state.
Right, that makes sense.
Right?
Makes
You
sense,
you just can't do it.
Right.
I can't. If I've had a near accident or I've slipped a little on the road, right, when you're driving and you slip and then you feel that adrenaline sort of surge. If somebody were trying to, like, if my daughter was trying to question or can I go to so and so's house, I probably couldn't even really hear her, right? Let alone process what she was saying to me, so that I
Right,
could
because you're
take
focused on what's happening.
right, and I
but
have all
you're
this
in the-
adrenaline
Yeah,
pumping through my
and
body,
that's
and that's what he
obviously
is.
what he is, yeah.
He's got to have adrenaline pumping through his body. So then we're saying sit to him. He's like, what? I can't hear you. No, nobody can hear him, but he's just not there mentally.
No,
Engaged.
and you can yell to
Yeah.
him. Oh no, nothing stops it.
No.
And like I say, when we got to where we did start using the shock collar, even then, sometimes you'd have to do it a couple times. Then it would
Right,
break
because
the
the more-
cycle.
Right, or the shock collar gives him more adrenaline,
Yeah.
so that then it takes more shock to try to get him to
Yeah,
snap
I
out
mean,
of
we
it.
just have only used it on the lowest, and that's all we've ever had to do. But
Yep.
if he's already, gotten so wound, and then we'd use it, it would, it just didn't always work.
Right. So those kinds of things.
Yeah, so those are things we do. He usually will move the remote when he and I are already gone.
Yeah, but you're not going to walk him out. Let's try this for the week. You're not going to walk him out when you start to do all this. When you're really going to go, hopefully between now and the first time you really go and leave him, you'll get some of these things going.
Okay, yeah.
Or start your departure early enough so that you can bring your purse down and put it down while you, I don't know, finish your cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to sort of it's going to be very cognitive for you, both of you. Okay, how we normally do this, and now we have to mix it up. Okay, so I want you to mix it up as much as possible. With the obedience, he does not need food every time you ask him to sit.
Right,
He
okay.
can just have a good boy. So just call him over to you and ask him to sit, tell him he's a good boy, and then be done with it. He's still like, something's happening.
Yeah, he's on alert. Bailey, come. Sit. Good boy.
You can pat him, praise him.
What
and
a
then-
good boy.
And did you use a release word when you were doing stays? Did you say okay or?
Yes, I think that's, yeah. Yeah, I think she had told us just say okay or good. I think maybe I was doing good.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just say good and
Okay,
sit
good.
back.
Good.
Good. Bailey. Good boy. Down. Good boy. So this, he's going, if we're not going to use food, oh, good boy. So I just did that with my hand looking like I had food. Good boy.
And just do that throughout the day.
Yep. And then John, call him over to you and ask him to sit.
Bailey, come on, buddy. Come on. Bailey.
Yeah, kind of make a kissy sound, see if you can get him to, yep, good boy. And ask him to sit.
Sit. Sit.
Good boy.
Good boy. Yes, you're a good boy.
Good. Now, I want to go
Okay.
in the kitchen because I want you to practice individually, sit separate from the down, just in your life. Not, of course, not just with me here, and not just sitting. So are there like, what's your feeding routine for him?
He's fed in the morning, and I do have him sit. I'm
Okay,
the one
good.
that feeds him, and I'm usually the one that's working with him most
Okay.
of the time. But I always make him sit before he gets his food. I'll
Okay.
make him sit while I put it in there.
Okay.
He sits when I get his little medicine for him. I pretty much try to make him sit even when we are going to go out. I try to have him sit, and then we go out for our walk.
Okay. And he's good with that?
Yeah,
That's
because
not
like
a
Dr.
barking?
Posage said, it's more, no barking.
For the walk.
Right,
Okay.
right, because she said that he needs to earn. She
Yeah.
even went as far as saying you really should have him sit before he gets into your vehicle, and then sit, because I
Yeah.
told her about the barking issue in the car when we're getting out, and she said, well, he needs to earn getting in it and getting out. He should earn everything he
Yep.
gets.
Yep,
And
that's
so,
fine. That's good.
And yeah, so he pretty much has to sit to get anything, and yeah.
Okay. So let's have you go to the stove. And I'll just go with you. No, we're going to start barking again. So I want to show you what I want you to do. So I'm gonna give you 2 treats. I'm gonna ask him to sit, and we can just use the practice with the lure. Sit, but you're going to treat him from the other hand. So that sit, and then treat with the other hand. And this one can be behind your back or something. And you may need to do the frustration piece first, because that comes out.
We're not going to keep it down either. Down on jumping, like you're walking.
Yes, I would. If he does that to you, just plow into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
All right. So ask him. To,
Bailey. Bailey. Sit. Sit.
treat with the other hand. Good. You caught him just before he went down.
Good
So
boy.
break that last piece up into 2s and do that.
Bailey. Bailey. Sit. Sit.
Good. And treat.
Good boy.
Now face the counter this time when you ask him. And ask him without food. Just ask him to sit. And you can look at him. Use your hand
Bailey.
signal.
Bailey. Sit.
Now treat him.
Good boy.
So sort of 2 warm-ups with, here it is, lure, but the lure goes away and he gets a treat from someplace else. And then the third one is sit with the hand signal, which was sort of looks like, we're sort of faking him out
Right,
almost.
yeah.
But there's no food there, but then he gets it from your other hand.
Okay.
So he's going to need,
Great.
right, he's going to need a lot of that so that it's not just at these predictable times for him.
Right.
That anytime anybody comes in or anytime you ask him to sit, he will. And right now, he won't. And as soon as the food comes out, it's very interesting to me. Bark, 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 bark. So I'm going to do that again, but I'm
Yeah, it's very demanding.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's worked. It's a
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah.
Demanding is a behavior. It's a personality trait too, but if it
Yeah.
works and keeps
But
getting him stuff.
We don't give him treats when he's barking. That's the thing. But this is all different today, part 2. And you're
Sit.
the lady of treats, which
Good. You're
normally
wise.
he's not getting all day. So I think that's.
So he did sit and he didn't bark, so I couldn't really do what I wanted to do. Get that piece before you. So if he starts to bark this time, he probably won't because I just said that, we're going to go sit down.
Oh.
It's going to end.
Oh. Okay.
So if you start to pull out food and he starts to bark, it ends. Whatever it is that you're doing, I don't care if you're feeding him. You're going to push it all back, put it back in the drawer, whatever it is you need to do, but he's not going to get it. I want him to start getting very clear messages. Barking turns everybody off. All the food, anything that I wanted, gone. Bye. Down. Good boy. You're going to make a liar. See, now you're not barking. Jeez. Down. Good boy. And I'm not going to treat him that time because he doesn't want it every time. Oh,
Okay.
and now we're going to go sit down. One bark. Woof. All done. Well done. And you can, if you feel like, the barking is getting worse, you can count, you can time it. But again, he didn't perform any differently last time I was here when I was here. So I don't think we're seeing anything false from him. Does that make sense? I think that his barking will be as short-lived when I'm not here as it is that I'm here.
Okay. Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest you move the purse, move your remotes, do the gate all in one fell swoop.
Right,
Unless
just-
you're ready to endure a little bit more barking, because you've done 3 triggers.
Right.
I'm sort of suggesting one at a
So
time.
we'll do those, but when we do those, then we just do it and then go about our business.
Yep.
And if he's barking or anything, it doesn't matter. We just, okay, we've done that. He's
Right.
all on alert, because that's what he'll do.
Yes.
It would not be barking as much as he's just right then on,
Right.
like my heels. Like
and
when
he's
we
still
are
on alert.
Yeah.
But he's not barking on alert.
Yeah.
So that's fine. So once I don't know that we're ever going to see him calm down. You could try to wait until he lays down and is relaxed. But as long as he's not barking, you could then
Right.
do another trigger or move that back and move it forward again.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're going to have to sort of play around with
Yeah.
how much time between the triggers and how often you move them. But
Okay.
my goal would be that you try to hit them all, I don't know, anywhere between 5 and 10 times a day. How much time you have that day, how long you're home for. If you're gone 8 hours, well then, that's not going to be a day you do that.
Right.
Maybe you do 2. 2 in the morning and 2. I know, right? I just feel like
he's worn out.
"Hey,
He's
I'm in-"
tired.
He is a little more relaxed. Okay, so rarely move things around your goal. I would like you to journal what you're doing.
Okay.
So when I come back, we don't have to try to recreate the week or the
Right.
2 weeks previous.
No, I'll keep
And
the-
you know, it's perfectly fine if Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, you do some. Thursday, you do some. I mean, life happens.
Right,
But I don't
right.
want you to not journal because it's not a judgment on my part to come
No,
back
no,
and see
but
what you've done.
and it's hard to remember then,
but
exactly.
if you-
This is
if
a way
you've
to see
done it-
what's happening.
if you've done it every day from now until the time I come back and there's no improvement, then we need to do something different.
Exactly.
But if you've only done it 3 days between now and the day I've come back and we see a little improvement, well, then that's good.
It's
and,
working,
and that
yeah.
might be motivating for you guys to do it a little bit more because
Right.
we've seen some improvement. Okay.
Right.
So journal everything, basically. How many sits you did, how many downs you did, if you didn't do any because he kept barking at you, whatever. And it can just be, you know, a pad of paper of the day of the week.
Right,
who
right.
did
Yeah,
what.
I have a tablet
Okay.
I'll use, yeah.
This
A
is-
tablet, you probably got 100
Oh, I've got
tablets.
100
Right.
tablets, but
So when I pulled out the food
yeah.
and he started to bark, then you're going to put it away.
Okay,
You're not going to, and it might happen, so that might happen, you might say, okay, I'm going to work on some sits in the kitchen, and just like what happened today, you ask him, he seems like he doesn't even know what you're talking about, so you're going to get a treat for him, and you're going to start to do the lure, but treat from the other hand, but if he starts barking at you, then I want you to put them all away and forget it.
Okay.
And that would be a great thing to write down, because then the sits and downs didn't happen this week, because every time I pulled out food, we ended up working on the no barking thing.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, good.
So that would, so you can purposely do it, right? Say, hey, I've got some food, but you're not going to get anything unless you're quiet. Sit. Good boy. That's a good boy. I know. I don't have to give you everything. Down. Good boy. And he's already, so again, no food. I just sort of fake him out. Make sure he'll stay in the relaxed position. Oh. So either he's tired or he's learning. I will reserve judgment because I
think
fully
he's
expect,
tired of learning.
I fully expect him to start barking.
Oh, he will when
So-
you're ready to exit.
Barking. So I'm also going to say barking in the presence of food will make it all go away. And you'll get nothing. And I'm not going to give you everything that I want you to do today. But lastly, I want you to work on sits, downs, relaxed position. And we're going to leave the rollover out of it for now.
Yeah, he just does that on his own. We rarely even.
You're going to work on them
encourage
separately, and you will randomly reinforce. Does that make sense? So you will randomly give him a food reward for those behaviors. He does not need them all the
that.
time.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And that will also help with the food, expecting, oh, food's out, I should get it, I should get it, I should get it.
Yeah.
It will also it should increase his quickness to respond to your command, because maybe this time I'll get the food. Maybe this time I'll get the food. So when a dog is randomly reinforced with food or even with a toy, the behavior is stronger because he's trying harder, because he never knows when that will come.
That's right. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I want you to, along with the sits and downs, generalize your body position, which is a little bit about what we did. So instead of always, when we start training, it's very predictable and classic that we stand in front of the dog and he learns to sit and down right here. But the minute, Bailey, the minute we sit in a chair, sit. What? You're not standing up and there's no food in your hand. So I want you to practice them in the same places that you do them now, but in your everyday life. Sitting in the chair, if this thing, if it reclined, recline it, ask for the sit. And you can certainly have a little treat in your pocket that he doesn't know about.
Right.
So if I reclined and he sat, wow, that'd be great. And I would either give it to him or just throw it to him so he can go chase it a little bit.
Yeah.
So those will surprise him. He'll be like, oh, I never know when I'm going to be asked. I never know when the reinforcement's going to come. I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit. Okay. Wherever you are, so putting on your shoes or upstairs in the morning if he's upstairs with you. Put a few little crunchies in your bathroom
Yeah, there is
closet
a
or
little
something.
container
Yep.
that has crunchies up there because when he gets my slipper, the only way I can get it from him right now is
Right.
I have to have a treat.
Right.
It takes a while for him to let it go, and then
Mhm.
I take it before I give him the treat. But that's
And you
because
have
he
to do
won't
that.
leave it. Yeah,
right.
'cause
And
he
you
just-
have to
he
do that with
won't-
the resource guardian.
Yeah, and he won't leave it. He just he'll stand there and just hold it and hold it.
Does he
and hold
destroy it?
No, he wants to take it. Like if we're getting ready to go for a walk, many times he'll run and grab something. Like when we do have shoes there, he'll sometimes grab a shoe.
Little stress reduction. Puts it in his
Right,
mouth.
right. It's
He'll
almost
grab
like a
my hat.
pacifier or something. Yeah, something of ours. Or
I don't know. We
sometimes,
may be seeing
sometimes
each other
his
for a
toy.
long time. the issues just keep.
Oh my God, they're
springing
coming out
forth,
more and more.
Like,
Yeah,
like a
no.
fountain.
Sometimes he'll grab a toy. He just that's just random though that he does that. So in the meantime, though, that of course is the homework. But now, okay, if we were gonna go away tomorrow, if we were gonna leave him, I mean, basically, all we're gonna do is what we've been doing right now, correct?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
we go through our motion. I
I
take
would
him for
just
the
do
walk.
yeah. I mean, if you need to take him for the walk and then do everything, you can certainly do that. Because this desensitizing is going to happen at other times.
Right.
The only other thing you could add is you're going to leave. You could have a handful of food and you could just scatter it on the floor to try to do some classical
Right.
conditioning.
Okay.
in
Like
it-
do
when-
that and then.
And you leave.
And then
And
you
leave.
leave.
Yep.
'cause he's gonna
And you
be
might
up
have to
the
mix it
phone.
up. It might be some kibble. It might be some hot dogs, cheese, some other things,
Right.
and then just go.
Right.
Some liverwurst.
It doesn't matter if he's barking. Doesn't matter what he's doing. You leave becomes a predictor of a handful of $500 that he has to go
because there
hunt
might
for.
be a time there's just not the time to go and walk him. Usually when we leave him, it's when we are going to be gone for a good part of the day. I walk him so he's done all his potty and then bring him back, and it just gives him the fresh air and stuff. But again, he knows that walk is
Yeah.
what's happening, because also at that time is when I take my purse with me. We go over to the car, I put it in the car, and then he and I are off walking. He knows. He
Right.
knows that routine because that's what we've done. And
Right,
so,
right, and you've done it all
But-
to try to avoid the barking. So
Right.
some of it will stay the same while you're doing the desensitizing until
Right.
you get all these pieces together.
But eventually, maybe one day try, if it's not going to be that long we're leaving him, just try to throw the kibble out or whatever.
I would
and-
just do it
and
every
go out.
time you leave, and you're not going to take him with you. Throw him some food,
Yeah,
and you'll know whether he's eating it or not.
yeah.
I'm quite sure he will.
Oh,
and
he
it
will
seems
eat
like the
it.
barking's
Even though we
decreased.
do still do the same thing with the Kong and the bone or whatever.
Yep,
Just still
yep.
have those in place,
Yep.
but just when, okay.
You can, as you leave, you can just put those down instead of him out walking and then coming back for it.
Yeah,
That's just he could get those while you do everything else to get ready to go,
okay.
and see if that makes it any different
Oh,
for him.
that's true, yeah.
Give him those things first.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
All right. So in this week of Doggy Dilemmas, we met Bailey, a 8 to 9 year old wire hair fox terrier that has lots of issues springing forth, and we're going to tackle them one at a time. As you've heard me say many, many times before, there is no easy answer. It takes lots of training, it takes different kinds of training, and it takes putting all those pieces together to try to finally change the one behavior we're looking for. And in this case, we're trying to get Bailey to stop barking. As you've heard, it's quite impressive whenever anybody in the house wants to leave. It's not just when Karen and John want to go, but it's anybody that wants to leave. And we're going to tackle this slowly. We're going to desensitize all of his triggers, which means we're going to desensitize everything that tells Bailey someone's leaving the house or that Karen and John are leaving the house. We're going to work a little different program to get him to try to be relaxed when other people leave the house, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to increase his English so that his sit and his down, two basic commands, are truly understood by Bailey no matter where they ask him. So if they're sitting in a chair, if they're standing up at the counter, if they're eating dinner, if they're tying their shoes, any of those times, if he's asked to sit, he'll sit. If he's asked to lie down, he'll lie down. And they do not always need to have food in their hand. They're also going to work on his pushiness, which is an additional piece to the barking, that barking works, so that when we first sat down and I would pull out some food and ask him to sit, Bailey would be very quick to bark. Hey, you haven't given it to me fast enough, or look, I'm doing all of my behaviors, give me the food, give me the food, give me the food. So they will also work on, it's not really desensitizing, but just re-teaching him that barking will no longer work to get the food. And they're going to do that by anytime they pull out food to work with him, or they have it out and about, if he starts barking, it's all going to go away. So it'll be interesting to see how much Bailey progresses, and I feel very hopeful that he can progress. And it, as I've also said many times on the show, consistency, consistency, consistency. So we as human beings have to be motivated to change our dog's behavior, because the behavior change starts with us first. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Doggy Dilemmas. I look forward to seeing you next week.
If you have a doggy dilemma, Denise can help. Visit www.denisemazzola.com for more information. Denise Mazzola is a certified professional dog trainer tested through the Association of Pet Dog Trainers. The association requires recertification every 3 years with a minimum of 30 hours of continuing education. She has been training dogs and working with families for over 20 years.